Have you ever wondered why some people grow lonelier as they age, while others seem to stay surrounded by love, laughter, and meaningful connections? It's a mystery many of us quietly notice, perhaps even in our own lives, but rarely stop to ask. Why the truth is, it's not just about physical changes like wrinkles, gray hair, or slowing down. It's not even about retirement, health challenges, or living arrangements. It's about something much quieter, much sneakier. It's about the habits we unconsciously pick up as the years go by, tiny shifts in how we think, speak, act, and relate to others. At first, they seem harmless, even natural, but slowly these habits can push people away, isolate us, and drain the joy from the beautiful years we've worked so hard to reach. Take Sarah, for example. Sarah is 72, a retired librarian with a heart full of stories and a lifetime of wisdom. She imagined her golden years would be filled with gatherings, conversations, and laughter, but somewhere along the way, she noticed something quietly changing. Phone calls became fewer, visits became shorter, loneliness started to creep in. At first, she blamed her age. Maybe it's just what happens when you get older, she thought. But the real cause was hidden, tucked away in small everyday habits she never even realized she had picked up. In today's video, we're going to gently uncover 12 of these hidden habits, the ones that quietly steal our joy, damage relationships, and make life feel smaller than it should. More importantly, we'll talk about simple, practical ways to break free from them so you can stay connected, vibrant, and deeply alive no matter your age. Because growing older should be about growing richer in memories and laughter and in love. If you're ready to spot these sneaky habits and discover how small changes can create a world of difference, go ahead and hit that like button. It lets me know you're here, and it helps us reach more wonderful people just like you. Now let's begin with the very first habit that often slips into our lives when we're not paying attention. Sarah always thought of herself as a straightforward person, someone who simply spoke her mind honest and unfiltered. But as the years slipped by, something inside her began to shift. It started small. A heavy sigh here, a quiet complaint there. Aches and pains greeted her in the morning, and she found herself muttering, "Getting old isn't for the faint of heart," under her breath. At first it seemed harmless, even a little funny, but slowly the grumbles grew louder. Watching the news filled her with frustration. Conversations with her children turned sharp. "Back in my day, people had more respect," she'd say with a sigh and a shake of her head. At family dinners, she noticed her grandchildren retreating into their phones, avoiding deeper conversations. What Sarah didn't realize was how negativity, even when it felt justified, was acting like a wall, quietly pushing her loved ones away. You see, it's easy to fall into a cycle of criticism as we age. The world changes faster than we're comfortable with. Our bodies don't move the way they used to. Frustration builds in voicing. It feels like a release. But here's the truth. Negativity doesn't just release our frustration. It creates a heaviness around us, one that people instinctively avoid, and not because they don't love us, but because no one wants to leave a conversation feeling worse than when they arrived. The good news. It's never too late to shift the energy we bring into a room. Instead of leading with complaints, try starting your conversations with a positive note. "The garden looked beautiful this morning. I'm grateful I had a good night's sleep." If you feel the urge to vent, and we all do, set a gentle time limit for yourself. Give yourself 2 minutes to acknowledge the frustration, then guide the conversation back to something uplifting. Curiosity is also a powerful tool. Instead of criticizing what you don't understand, whether it's new music, new fashion, or the latest app your grandkids love, ask them, "Tell me more about it." That simple invitation can open doors you didn't even know were closed. When Sarah started leading with gratitude and asking more questions, something remarkable happened. Conversations grew longer. Laughter returned. The warmth that had quietly faded from her life started to flow back in. So if you catch yourself slipping into a pattern of negativity, remember the energy you give is the energy you receive. Start small. Start today. And speaking of small changes with big impacts in the next habit, we'll explore another silent thief of connection, the subtle neglect of caring for yourself. Stay with me, you won't want to miss it. Helen used to love getting ready each morning. She had a favorite pink blouse that made her feel radiant, a small pearl necklace she wore with pride, and a spritz of perfume that always earned her compliments. But over the years that morning, ritual began to fade. First it was small, a missed hair appointment here, a few days spent lounging in pajama pants. Who am I dressing up for anyway? Helen would tell herself with a shrug. Gradually, the effort to get ready seemed unnecessary. The nice clothes stayed tucked away in the closet. Makeup collected dust on the bathroom counter. Helen told herself it didn't matter anymore. But deep inside, something had shifted. She noticed it in the way people greeted her, or rather, how they stopped greeting her. Strangers stopped offering warm smiles. Friends became less likely to extend invitations. And when Helen caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror, she barely recognized the vibrant, joyful woman she used to be. It's a trap many fall into with age. When we stop showing up for ourselves, even in small ways, it changes how we see ourselves. And it changes how others see us too. Neglecting personal hygiene and appearance isn't just about looks. It's about self-respect, about telling the world and reminding ourselves, I matter. The beautiful truth is rekindling that spark doesn't require grand makeovers or expensive clothes. It starts small, getting dressed each morning, even if it's just for yourself. Choosing clothes that make you feel comfortable and confident. Brushing your hair, trimming your nails, applying a little lotion or a spritz of your favorite scent. These small acts send a powerful message to your own heart. I am still here. I am still worthy. When Helen made the simple decision to put on her favorite blouse again, not for an event, but just for a Tuesday afternoon, something magical happened. Her posture lifted, her smile returned. And so did the warm smiles of others. So take a moment tomorrow morning just for you. A little effort, a little pride. It goes a long way toward feeling alive again. And speaking of staying vibrant, in the next habit, we'll talk about a hidden resistance that can quietly steal our connections without us even realizing it. Stay with me. You'll see why it matters more than ever. Frank had always taken pride in knowing what he liked and how he liked it. For decades, he enjoyed his morning coffee. From the same blue mug, paid his bills by mail, and called his children every Sunday evening. No texts, no emails, just a good old-fashioned phone call. So when his kids and grandkids started communicating, mostly through group chats and quick text messages, Frank folded his arms and declared, I don't need any of that nonsense. If they want to talk to me, they know where the phone is. But over time, the Sunday calls became fewer. The family updates, the birthday party pictures, the inside jokes, they were happening without him, not because his family loved him any less, but because Frank had unknowingly shut himself out. The truth is, change is hard, especially when the world feels like it's racing ahead without asking our permission. It's tempting to dig in our heels and resist thinking, I've lived just fine without all these new things. But staying stubborn doesn't keep us comfortable. It keeps us isolated. Technology, new ways of living, new habits, they aren't barriers. They're bridges. They're invitations to stay connected in a world that moves differently now. The good news: you don't have to master every new gadget or app. Just start small. Let your granddaughter show you how to send a simple text. Join a family group chat, even if you mostly just send little thumbs up emojis at first. Be willing to say, I'm willing to learn. When Frank finally agreed to let his grandson show him how to text, he didn't just learn how to type out happy birthday. He opened a new channel of daily connection, quick jokes, sweet photos, and loving check-ins that warmed his heart more than he ever expected. So if you've ever caught yourself saying, that's not for me, maybe pause and ask, but what if it could be? Staying open to change isn't just about keeping up. It's about keeping close. And speaking of closeness, in the next habit, we'll tackle something physical that might be cluttering more than just your home. It could be cluttering your peace of mind too. Stay with me, it's an eye-opener. Dorothy loved her home. Every room held a memory: birthday parties, family dinners, quiet afternoons spent reading by the window. Over the years, she collected little pieces of those memory stacks of magazines she meant to finish birthday cards from decades ago. Clothes she hadn't worn since the 80s, but couldn't bear to part with. Each thing tells a story, she would say, smiling as she dusted off another forgotten trinket. But as time went on, Dorothy began to notice something else. Her cozy home felt heavier. Rooms once filled with light now felt crowded. Simple tasks like cleaning or finding a favorite book became exhausting. And when friends suggested coming over for tea, Dorothy hesitated, embarrassed by the growing piles of stuff. It's a natural instinct to hold on to things, especially as we age. Every item feels like a lifeline to a memory, a reassurance that the past is still alive. But when we hold on to too much, we risk crowding out the present. The clutter doesn't just fill our homes, it fills our minds, creating stress, anxiety, and even physical danger with tripping hazards. What starts as sentimental attachment can quietly become emotional weight, keeping us stuck in yesterday instead of embracing today. The solution isn't to throw everything away, it's to choose intentionally. Start small, one drawer, one shelf, one box. Ask simple questions. Do I use this? Does it still bring me joy? If not, maybe it's time to release it, to donate it, gift it, or simply let it go with gratitude for the memories it held. When Dorothy began clearing just one small corner of her living room, she felt a surprising lightness. Each bag donated, each shelf cleared, wasn't a loss. It was a gift to her future self. More peace, more space, more freedom to welcome the life still ahead. So if you've been feeling a little weighed down, maybe it's not just the years. Maybe it's the clutter. And speaking of feeling lighter, our next habit touches on something just as heavy, but far less visible: the patience we give or withhold from those around us. Stick with me. You'll see why it matters more than ever. Walter was always a patient man, or at least that's how he remembered himself. He had spent his working years mentoring younger employees, patiently teaching his grandkids how to ride their bikes, and calmly waiting in long grocery store lines without a second thought. But lately, something had changed. One afternoon, standing in line at the pharmacy, Walter found himself tapping his foot anxiously. The elderly woman ahead of him struggled to find her prescription card, fumbling through her purse. Walter's irritation bubbled over. "Come on, lady. Some of us have places to be," he muttered under his breath. The woman's face fell. Walter immediately felt a pang of guilt, but it was too late. Aging often brings a shift in how we experience time. Physical discomfort, slower movements, or simply feeling more fragile can make delays feel magnified. Little inconveniences that once rolled off our backs now feel heavier, harder to bear. But losing patience doesn't just rob others of kindness, it robs us of peace. When irritation becomes our default, every day feels a little more stressful, a little less joyful, and over time it pushes people away, creating exactly the isolation we fear most. The good news: patience is like a muscle. It can be retrained. Start by simply noticing when impatience rises. Pause, breathe. Ask yourself, is this really worth my peace? Practice empathy. That slow driver ahead might be someone's grandfather. That new cashier fumbling with the register might be someone's nervous first job. Walter decided to make a simple shift. Instead of grumbling, he began offering small kindnesses, a warm smile, a few reassuring words, and slowly the world around him began to feel less frustrating and much more connected. So the next time life feels slow, see it as an invitation, not a burden. And speaking of invitations, in our next habit, we'll uncover how true connection isn't just about what we say, it's about how well we listen. Stay tuned, this one might surprise you. Betty had always been the storyteller of her family. She loved sharing tales from her childhood, advice from decades of experience, and colorful memories of her adventures with friends long gone. At family gatherings, everyone knew Betty would have a story ready, and for years they loved it. But lately she noticed something unsettling. Her phone calls with her daughter grew shorter. Her grandson rarely stayed on video chats for long. And during conversations, Betty realized she was the one doing most of the talking, while others politely nodded or glanced away. Was I boring them, she wondered, or was I missing something? It's natural, especially as we get older, to want to share our stories, our lessons, our wisdom. We've lived through so much, we want those we love to learn from it. But in our eagerness to share, we can sometimes forget the most important part of any conversation: listening. True connection isn't built through talking at someone. It's built by talking with them, hearing, understanding, and making space for their stories too. The fix is simple but powerful. In your next conversation, pause after you speak. Ask open-ended questions. What's been the highlight of your week? Or tell me more about that. Resist the urge to immediately jump in with your own story or advice. Betty made a conscious effort to listen more and talk a little less. At first it felt unfamiliar, even awkward, but the results were beautiful. Her daughter opened up about her challenges, her grandson shared stories Betty had never heard before. The laughter, the depth, the connection, it all came rushing back. So next time you're tempted to fill the silence, try making space instead. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can say is simply, I'm here, I'm listening. And speaking of being there for each other, the next habit we'll explore touches on a surprising form of self-isolation, one that often hides behind the mask of independence. You won't want to miss it. Stay with me. George had always been the strong one, the one who fixed the broken steps without asking for a hand, who carried groceries for neighbors half his age, who prided himself on standing tall through every storm life threw his way. So when carrying a heavy box from the garage left him wincing in pain, and a neighbor offered, "Need a hand, George?" He smiled stiffly and said, "No thanks, I've got it." Except he didn't. By the time he managed to drag the box inside, his back ached, and so did something deeper, a hollow loneliness he hadn't expected. For many of us, asking for help feels like admitting weakness, especially after a lifetime of being the helper, not the one who needs helping. But pushing people away when they offer kindness doesn't make us stronger. It builds invisible walls that slowly isolate us from the warmth and connection we crave. The truth is, accepting help is not a sign of failure. It's an act of trust. It's a silent way of saying, I'm human too, and I'm grateful you're here. The next time someone offers a hand, big or small, try saying yes. Start with little things. Let someone carry a heavy bag. Accept help opening a stubborn jar. Allow a neighbor to walk you to the car after a grocery trip. When George finally said yes to a young neighbor's offer to carry a package, something shifted. The task was easier, yes, but more importantly, George felt connected, valued, part of something bigger than just himself. And that small yes opened the door to bigger moments of belonging. So if you've been carrying it all alone, maybe it's time to share the load, not just for your body's sake, but for your heart's. And speaking of enjoying life more fully, in our next habit, we'll look at how sometimes being too careful with money can steal joy from the very years we work so hard to reach. Stay with me. You might be surprised Eleanor had always been wise with money. She clipped coupons, skipped unnecessary purchases, and saved diligently for decades. Her philosophy was simple: better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. It served her well through the years, building security, a comfortable home, and peace of mind. But as she entered her 70s, Eleanor noticed something unsettling. She turned down invitations to trips she could easily afford. She hesitated to buy herself a new pair of shoes, even though her old ones were worn thin. She passed on dining out with friends, worried it would be too extravagant. And slowly the life she had saved for became smaller, narrower, lonelier. There's a fine line between financial wisdom and unnecessary deprivation. When frugality becomes fear, it stops being protective and starts being restrictive. We spend decades saving for someday, but what happens when someday arrives and we're too afraid to enjoy the fruits of our labor? Money, after all, isn't just for security, it's for living, for creating memories, laughter and joy while we still can. The key isn't to spend recklessly, it's to spend meaningfully. Set aside a joy fund, a small account just for experiences that feed your soul. A dinner with friends, a weekend trip to visit old haunts, a class to learn something new you've always wanted to try. When Eleanor finally said yes to a weekend trip with her best friend, something beautiful happened. The laughter, the memories, the fresh air, they reminded her that this was what all the saving had been for. Security is vital, but so is living while you can. So if you've been waiting for the perfect moment to treat yourself, maybe the perfect moment is now. And speaking of treating others well, our next habit dives into how the way we talk to younger generations can either build bridges or build walls. Stick with me, you'll want to hear this. Harold adored his grandson Ethan. He loved hearing about Ethan's new hobbies, his college adventures, and even his obsession with those fast-paced video games. Harold couldn't quite understand. But one afternoon when Ethan excitedly showed Harold a new app he was working on, Harold chuckled and said, "Back in my day, we didn't need all these gadgets. We actually talked to each other." He meant it lightheartedly, just a harmless comment. But the sparkle in Ethan's eyes dimmed. He tucked his phone away and mumbled something about having homework before leaving earlier than usual. Harold sat alone staring at the closed door, wondering, did I say something wrong? It's easy, especially as we grow older, to fall into the rhythm of nostalgia, remembering the good old days and feeling disconnected from the fast-changing world. But constantly reminding younger generations that our way was better doesn't create respect. It creates distance. When we talk down to them, even unintentionally, we invalidate their experiences, their passions, and their unique journey through life. Connection comes not from comparison, but from curiosity. Next time a young person shares something new, pause your judgment, lean in with interest. Say something like, "That sounds fascinating, tell me more." When Harold made the shift, genuinely asking Ethan about his app instead of dismissing it, he unlocked a whole new side of his grandson. They laughed together, explored new ideas, and Harold realized that while the tools had changed, the joy of connecting remained timeless. Respecting the world young people are building doesn't erase our past. It enriches our future together. So next time you feel that itch to say, "Back in my day," try swapping it for, "Tell me about your day." And speaking of releasing old habits, our next topic hits even closer to home. How holding on to grudges and regrets can quietly steal our peace. You won't want to miss it. Stay with me. Nancy had a warm smile that could light up a room, but there were moments when old memories surfaced that a shadow crossed her face. She carried silent hurts, harsh words spoken by a sibling, long ago opportunities, missed friendships, broken by misunderstandings. She would replay those moments at night, wondering what she could have said differently, done differently. Why did they treat me that way? Why didn't I take that chance when I had it? Each memory was a stone she tucked into her heart, and over the years the weight grew heavier. Holding on to grudges and regrets feels natural. After all, we were wronged, or we made mistakes that still ache to remember. But when we carry those stones for too long, they don't just weigh us down, they cloud our present, they steal today's joys by chaining us to yesterday's pain. Bitterness, even when justified, creates walls. Walls that block out love, trust, and connection. And worst of all, the stress from unresolved anger and regret can quietly harm our health, raising blood pressure, disturbing sleep, and weakening our bodies over time. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or pretending it didn't hurt. It means choosing peace over pain. Try this. Write a letter you never intend to send. Pour every feeling onto the page. Then symbolically release it. Tear it up, burn it safely, or toss it away. Forgiveness isn't about excusing others. It's about freeing yourself. Nancy finally decided to let go one quiet evening, writing down every regret and betrayal she had carried for decades. When she tore the paper into tiny pieces, she felt something incredible. Lightness, freedom, hope. So if your heart feels heavy, maybe it's time to set some of those stones down. And speaking of listening to our hearts in the next habit, we'll explore how ignoring small health warnings can lead to big problems later. Stay with me. This one could make all the difference. Arthur prided himself on being tough. He grew up in an era where you didn't complain about aches and pains, you just kept going. So when he started feeling dizzy now and then, or when his knees ached more than usual, he brushed it off. It's just part of getting older, he told himself. One afternoon, as he climbed the front steps with groceries, a sudden wave of dizziness hit. He lost his balance and fell hard. The hospital visit that followed revealed what Arthur had been ignoring: dehydration, a vitamin deficiency, and early signs of heart issues. All problems that could have been managed earlier if he had just listened to his body. It's easy to dismiss small symptoms as just aging, but our bodies have a language, and whispers often come before shouts. Ignoring small health warnings doesn't make them go away. It allows them to grow into bigger, sometimes life-threatening problems. And here's the deeper truth. Taking care of yourself isn't just about survival. It's about preserving independence, joy, and quality of life. The good news: you can shift from reacting to preventing. Start small, schedule regular checkups, even if you feel fine. Don't ignore new pains, changes in energy, or unusual symptoms. Advocate for yourself with doctors. Ask questions, seek clarity. Arthur made a promise after his fall. He wouldn't wait for a crisis to pay attention anymore. He began attending wellness checkups, drinking more water, exercising gently and gradually. He regained not just his strength, but his confidence too. So if something's been whispering for your attention, a twinge, a feeling, a persistent thought, don't brush it aside. Your body is speaking for a reason. And speaking of tuning into life's small joys, in our next and final habit, we'll explore why laughter isn't just nice, it's necessary. Stay with me, let's end on a high note. Marie had always been the life of the party. She loved to dance, to sing off-key, to tell jokes that made everyone double over with laughter. But somewhere along the way, between health worries, the loss of old friends, and the daily routines that grew heavier with time, the laughter faded. Life became quieter, more serious. There's nothing wrong with being calm, she told herself. But deep inside, she missed that spark, the simple, silly moments that once made her feel truly alive. As we grow older, it's easy to believe that laughter is a luxury, something reserved for children or younger days. Responsibilities, grief, and physical changes can make joy feel distant. But the truth is, laughter isn't frivolous, it's vital. It strengthens our immune system, lowers blood pressure, improves memory, and deepens our connections with others. Laughter doesn't just lighten a moment, it lightens the heart, the beautiful part. Joy is always within reach. You don't have to force it, you just have to invite it back. Watch a funny movie you love, share a silly story with a friend, dance in your kitchen to your favorite song, even if no one's watching. Marie started small. She joined a local storytelling group where laughter was part of every gathering, and she rediscovered something powerful. The ability to giggle, to laugh until tears came wasn't gone. It had just been waiting for her to open the door again. So if it's been a while since you laughed so hard your sides hurt, maybe it's time. Not tomorrow, not when things settle down, but today. And speaking of new beginnings, stay with me, because up next we'll wrap everything we've learned into one beautiful final message you won't want to miss. As we come to the close of our time together today, let's take a moment to breathe and to reflect. Over the past few minutes, we've walked through 12 habits, small quiet patterns that can slowly, almost invisibly, erode the connections, joy, and freedom we deserve as we grow older. We've met Sarah, Helen, Frank, Dorothy, Walter, Betty, George, Eleanor, Harold, Nancy, Arthur, and Marie, each of them facing challenges that, at first glance, seemed insignificant. A small complaint here, a missed opportunity there, a little stubbornness, a little fear, a little forgetting to laugh, but piece by piece they revealed a powerful truth. A good life isn't built by avoiding mistakes, it's built by staying open to connection, to growth, to joy, to change. If you recognized even a small part of yourself in these stories, take heart. It doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're too late. It means you're alive. It means you're aware. And awareness is the first beautiful step toward change. The habits that once crept into your life quietly can be replaced by small, gentle choices. Choosing gratitude over grumbling, choosing curiosity over criticism, choosing laughter over loneliness. Choosing to say yes to help, to love, to life itself. No single moment defines us. It's the collection of our small daily choices that shape the legacy we leave behind. And today, you have the power to choose. So maybe tonight you'll text your grandson instead of waiting for him to call. Maybe tomorrow morning you'll wear that blouse or tie that makes you smile, even if it's just to have coffee on the porch. Maybe this weekend you'll laugh until your cheeks hurt with someone you love. It doesn't have to be grand, it just has to be real. Because life, especially this beautiful golden season, isn't meant to be endured. It's meant to be celebrated. Before you go, I would love to hear from you. What is one small change you're inspired to make starting today? Share it in the comments. Your story might just encourage someone else who needs it. And if this video touched your heart, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with someone you care about. You never know whose life you might brighten with just a simple act. Thank you for spending this time with me. Remember, no matter your age, your story is still unfolding, and the best chapters may be yet to come. Take care, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next video.